Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I don't know if you can hear me. Good evening. Welcome to Lendha's First Twitter Space. It's been, we've been planning this for a while now, and I'm super excited we're finally doing this. My name is Maris Okpoh. I'm a communications associate at Lendha, and I'll be your host for tonight's conversation. It's a pleasure to have everyone join in. Tonight's conversation centered around finance and other fundamentals of a growing business is one I find really interesting. Um, okay, so it's a pleasure to have everyone join in. This session promises to be fun, interactive, and insightful. So if you know anyone who needs to be here but isn't, do them a favor by sharing or retweeting this space and have them join in. So over the next 1 hour or less, we'll be speaking broadly on situations that had and are currently shaping the economic sector of business in Nigeria particularly. And in about 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be opening the mic to welcome questions we all have. So if by chance a question pops in your mind during this conversation, please scribble down or have it tweeted. We'll get to it much later. Don't forget to mention a lender loan so we can get it started. Okay, so let's get right into it. The fundamentals of business growth, the theme for this conversation is actually focusing more on finance and sustainability. You know, finance is very important to every business that we have on here today. So if without finance, businesses cannot actually move forward. So every business owner is a financial expert. They think money, talk money, and practically act money because every move taken reflects on their finance. And with a decision gone wrong, the entire game changes for them. So what must be done when it comes to finance? What steps do we take as business owners to avoid money mistakes? How do we keep up with growth measurements? What possible sustainability measures do we put in place for our businesses to thrive? These questions and more will be answered here tonight. So speaking on this topic are amazing speakers, one of whom is my boss, Tunji Olalekan, as we all know. So I was actually going to ask him to do a brief intro of himself, but settled to do it myself after a second thought. Now it scares me that I might get a query tomorrow if this intro goes wrong at the slightest chance. Okay, so Tunji is a co-founder of Lendha. He has been in the finance industry for over 7 years and understands firsthand the frustrations of credit access for business owners. He has helped small businesses grow by providing credit so that they can attain their goals and also succeed in the market space. Hi, Tunji, can you hear me? I believe I have done justice to this intro. Do you agree to that? Are you here, Tunji? Okay, so I think it's away for now. So let's get into it. Okay, so next speaker we have tonight is Eunice Olopade. Next speaker we have tonight is Eunice Olopade. She's a lawyer with an expertise in tax, and she has worked with Big Law and Big Four. She has also worked on several projects within the World Bank Group and International Finance Corporation. Eunice leads the team at SideBrief, where she provides a simple digital platform for African entrepreneurs to launch and scale their businesses across markets. It's a pleasure to have you join us here, Eunice. I don't know if you have any other thing you like to share about yourself that um, we do not know. Hi, Eunice. Because I think she's trying to connect. Hi, Eunice. Are you with us? Okay, so I think she's okay. Must be a network issue, but let's move on. We'll get back to Eunice much later. I believe she has something exciting about herself to tell us tonight. Okay, so next in line is Victor. Victor is a certified life behavioral change and productivity coach. He works with diverse people and businesses to transition them from their current reality to their desired product and productivity, utilizing the integrative tools of coaching, strategy, and neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, that's a lot. He's coached over 100 entrepreneurs across Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, and Germany. He's currently leading Talemia, which is an edtech solution that supports early stage African founders to launch profitable companies faster. So if you're one who needs to launch as fast as possible, Victor is the one you go to. It's good to have you here, Victor.
Thank you, Maris. It's great to be here. Good evening, everyone.
You're welcome. Good evening. Oh, might I add that Victor also blesses the timeline weekly with insightful conversations regarding practical steps that help businesses scale from 0 to 1 or practically any level your business envisages. Do you have any other thing, Victor, you'd like to add? Maybe something we do not know about you yet that you want us to know?
Oh, that would be how much I love chicken shawarma. Thank you.
I didn't get that.
That would be how much I love chicken shawarma.
Oh, kicking shawarma. Okay, that's exciting. Welcome.
Hi, how are
Okay.
you?
Hi, Tunji.
Oh, finally, I'm here. Hi. So,
Good to
Maris,
have
when
you
you
here.
want to scam me, that's when you say boss. I'm joking. Yeah. Good to okay. Good to be here. Victor, hi, and everyone. Thanks for joining.
Okay, good to have you. Yeah, so I was talking about your intro. Do you have any other thing to add? I believe I did justice to the short intro I did of you.
Yes, yes. Except when you do the old boss thing, and yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you once again for doing this tonight. I'm glad to speak with experts or who have not only helped businesses launch by scratching the surface, but have also helped them thrive in other terrains and even possibly witness, you know, a few of these businesses phase out, which is something we would be talking about tonight. So, some speaking of businesses fading out, either due to financial setback or other varied reasons, according to PwC's last report, 61.5% of SMEs in Nigeria failed in their first 3 years. In their first 3 years, due to financial crisis mostly, and others for varied reasons might struggle with poor marketing, poor location, poor product quality. So apart from financial crisis, they also find it difficult to grow when it comes to marketing and location. But looking at the major reason why these small businesses phase out is finance. So we'll be focusing on finance, more on finance tonight, um, and also the sustainability that keeps the markets going. So we've all had our share of bad financial decisions. Some couldn't get back, while some did. Others struggled daily to escape situations due to bad money decisions, but find themselves struggling into debt. So for those who were able to come out of debt successfully, others couldn't, and so they phased out. So I would like to ask our speakers tonight to share some of the money mistakes they made in the past, how, and also how they manage to get out of it, because running a business now in Nigeria is really something you need to give full attention to, especially when it comes to finance. So I believe we've all had our own fair share of money mistakes. So I would like us to share our money mistakes that we've made in the past. Setting the tone for tonight's conversation would be Tunji. Then we can move to Eunice and Victor. So Tunji, please, do you have any money mistake you'd like to share with us?
Okay. One of some of them that has to do with my personal, my own personal mistakes has to do with, there was a time whereby I was paying more on rent than I was actually earning, and I found out that my major expenses come goes into rent. I'm not in the UK whereby you pay a lot in rent, but we're in Nigeria, so I had to find a way to reduce that and forget about what people will say about what I did, and I moved from one apartment to the other just to reduce my rent, and I think that was a way I found a way to get out of that personally.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So these days, some spend more on rent than they should, and find themselves struggling financially. Okay. So you actually managed to get out of that. So next will be Eunice, please. You have the mic.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Apologies for the glitch earlier.
Yes,
I
we noticed.
struggled a
Yeah, good
bit
to
with
have
the
you back.
phone. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. So back to your question in terms of like money, wrong money decisions or money mistake that I've made in the past as a business owner, really. So I would say like when we first started out at Sidebrief, I think one of the money mistakes we made at the point was quickly hiring a lot of people, which goes to
Mm.
payroll, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I
So we
do.
hadn't really started business full fledged, and we had hired people right from day one, if you get what I mean. So like instead of taking it slow and going slow and steady, we hired like I don't remember, maybe about 7 or 8 people at the point. So that
Mm.
kind of like affected what we had. It put in a big hole into our expenses and things like that. So I mean, we had to let a couple of people go and then decide to trace back and be like, oh no, we have to actually go slow and steady and try all of that, if you get what I mean. So I would say that one of the big money mistakes that we did make right at the beginning, rather than going slowly and steady and building out and having enough revenue to cover payroll, right? It was, we just shut up and just decided to start there and there. But since then we've learned from that, and we've tried to pretty much manage and ensure that what we make in terms of revenue, right, doesn't is enough to cover payroll, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely, Eunice. Yes, I believe that's something some business owners do not pay attention to, or due to excitement, sometimes they
Yeah,
get more earns and find themselves struggling financially.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So okay, Victor, can you share with us?
All right. Thank you, Maris. Hi, everybody. Once again, I'm Victor. So we haven't made any money mistakes in terms of running Talemia, like Eunice had shared with Sidebrief, cause of probably because I've had a lot of learning curve, with the personal financial mistakes I'd made, like on a personal level, and I kind of like brought a lot of that financial intelligence into Talemia. Of course, we stayed very lean, and I mean, till date, we've had like zero marketing spend, everything literally just bootstrapped and all of that. And we kind of like think about every activity, how it ties back into growth, and there's just a way we approach things, at Talent that helps us to really be very, very, not necessarily frugal, but, we're putting the money where it should be and not where we want it to be, or not where we think it should be, but where it is supposed to be, so I'll probably just share a personal financial mistake that I made when I was much younger, getting to the finance world and everything. I think pretty much every young person has also made that kind of mistake, which is not having to do your proper due diligence, right? Before, investing. I'm a very high risk taker, you could literally just tell me something and you're telling me, okay, if you invest in this, you're literally going to make, XYZ amount of money in XYZ number of months or years or things like that. And because of my high risk, appetite, I'm a very aggressive saver. So oftentimes I have lots of free cash, to just play around. And that, that having lots of free cash to play around also, led to my, losing lots of money that I could have really, really put into good investment. So I think not having to do my real financial due diligence, and I didn't understand how it works. I just felt, okay, if you've told me, I trust you, you're going to deliver on this promise, and I just throw in, that money into that, and it doesn't come out right. So I also think that, I mean, most young people, especially in Nigeria, just fall within that bracket of not having to do proper due diligence before throwing in money into anything. So I think that that's sort of like, made me a bit more disciplined, with money, and I learned to build better relationship with money. Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. I mean, if you do not understand how money works, then how you might never know how to spend it well or how to channel it. What one of the things Victor said was, it's not about where you want the money to go. Neither is it where you think it should be, but where it must be. So if you cannot strategize and see how to put your money into to work for you, you make drastic money mistakes, which can actually make your business phase out. Okay, so apart from money mistakes now, so delving into other things regarding startups and early stage founders. So apart from money mistakes that people have made in the past, are there any other significant things you've noticed which early stage founders aren't paying attention to? So apart from money mistakes, because I sometimes last week I spoke with a few people and they made mention of financial mistakes they made before going into businesses. Some trusted the wrong people, some didn't do proper calculations, So apart from money mistakes now, what other significant things do you think early stage founders, or have you noticed that early stage founders aren't really paying attention to? Um, I don't know if you, since Eunice works with startups and also
Oh
Victor,
yeah.
I'd like you to jump at the
Yeah,
question.
definitely I can go first. If there's something that I've noticed that maybe entrepreneurs, business owners, especially when they're still small, if there's something I've noticed, it would typically be like mixing business funds and personal funds, right? So Obviously you should have your business account, you should have your personal account, you should be able to separate funds for your business and funds for your salary, sorry, funds for your personal use rather. So, one mistake that people have been making, and which is quite significant, because you're unable to measure your revenue, your turnover, and a couple of other important financial metrics, right? If you're mixing your personal and business funds together, right? I would say that's one of the mistakes I've seen people make. One thing I would rather that founders or entrepreneurs do is pay themselves a salary, try to separate both accounts together so that they would have adequate record keeping, adequate bookkeeping, just so that the records and finances look good enough, probably when they're now looking for financing from companies like Lendha. So that's typically what I would say I've seen actually.
Okay, Eunice, very necessary. I mean, I also think it's the right thing, for business owners to do, rather than invest the entirety of their funds into the business. They should at least pay themselves. I think that's one thing some business owners do not pay attention to, and when before they realize they do not have personal funds, you know. So I also think they should measure the revenue and also learn to pay themselves. You know, it's very necessary. It's a key thing when it comes to businesses. Sometimes business owners pay more attention to getting everything worked out, the payroll, and also or getting other equipment, that they forget themselves.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
think it's also key that they pay themselves when at the end of every month. Thank you
Yes,
for sharing, Vic,
and also to,
Eunice.
sorry,
Okay.
avoid using business funds for personal reasons. Actually, yeah, that's important too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is actually, yeah. So that is the more reason you should pay yourself.
Yeah,
So when you pay yourself, you have a business account and you have a personal account. Then you can separate. Okay, this is my money and this is the business funds. So I
exactly.
also think, yeah, very true. So I also think it's necessary that you do not spend personal money on businesses. Thank
Definitely.
you, Eunice. Thank
Sorry.
you. Victor, any words from you?
Yeah, thank you, Maris, again. So because this is about finance, I'm just going to put myself in a box, right? And, literally just keep it within the confines of finance. But again, it's super important for me to mention that money is not cash. Money is a whole lot of many things. Money is invincible, money is people, money is time, money is resources, money is energy, and cash is just like the least form of money. But the bulky part of our conversation tonight, it's about that particular form of money, cash. So I'm just going to pick it up from you know what Eunice had said. Very interesting, and I agree with her. I'm just going to bring in a different perspective to it. And I see a lot of founders make this costly mistake. They don't think about their personal sustainability economics. So what I mean by that is what sustains you as you build. Because I know the ideology of pay yourself, and pay yourself. I mean, just to be vulnerable, because I believe in spaces like this, what drives practicality is not theory, it's vulnerability, and I'm just going to be a bit vulnerable. Talemia is pretty young, we're just turned one, recently, and to date, I haven't earned a single pay, from the company, but we've been paying salaries. I haven't earned a single pay from the company. I learned something many years ago from a very wise person, in business, that I mean, he used to build a traditional business, and he told me that if you're going to build a company, and Gary Vaynerchuk has said this a couple of times, right? The truth is, nobody sent you to go build a company. Nobody, you know, came to you with gun, we're looking for this solution. You must build it. You must be the one to build it. You must democratize. You must decentralize. Nobody told you to do all of that. Nobody gave you the vision. I mean, you saw a problem and you wanted to just latch in and solve the problem. And the same thing with what Tunji is trying to do with Lender, or what he's doing already with Lender, right? But founders most time don't sit down. They just run out of passion and just go into the market and just start doing stuff. And what happens when you can't pay yourself? When the revenue is not even enough to pay yourself? And then the frenzy thing of, oh, I'm just going to go raise, I'm just going to go, get grants and things like that. I think on the flip side, we must be comfortable that, okay, um, I'm going to fold my sleeves, I'm going to get shit done, right? It's okay to not get a salary, but I have to sort out, what takes care of me personally. So if, for instance, I used to have a kind of lifestyle where, I drive 2 cars in a week, and I go on vacations. I mean, once in a quarter or things like that. So I have to think about, either I cut down on that lifestyle because I'm building, because I have to take a part of that money and pour it back into the solution that I'm building, the company I'm building. And of course, I mean, I test how founders believe in their vision, from how much of their resources goes into it. And that's what I check for. So either I cut back on those lifestyle, or I have something else that funds that lifestyle such that I don't have to go into the business to tamper with funds. Because oftentimes founders now get to the point where they run out of money to sustain themselves, and start hearing things like, touching the business funds. You raise money, and then you buy the next car, or you move into the next flashy house and things like that, and you just begin to fund things that you probably, or the business, cannot really carry at that point in time. So to sum it up, I personally think that anybody building a business right now, just think that in the next 3 years you will not break even. I mean, just think that way. I mean, if you do it faster, it's fine. Between 0 to 3 years, you aren't going to break even. I mean, some of all the tech companies that we all adore, they haven't even broken even with all the dollars, millions of dollars that we hear. So we have to think in that light. And if we don't think like that, then that's like the beginning of financial failure in building a company. I'll use my mic now.
That's quite a different perspective there, Victor. What do you think, Tunji? I mean, with what Victor said, in
Okay,
terms
I
of the
think
sacrifices.
most people have done justice to this, and I started with the story of how I have to change my rent because where I was paying more than I was earning, and that is the story of when we started Lenda, because as when I resigned from my full time job to work full time with Lenda, that means I had to take a huge pay cut, and Lenda was not making enough to be able to pay me my previous salary. So, well, I didn't earn salary. My partners also was not earning salary. We're not earning salary. We're working full time on the, so because we needed to grow the business. As a as a business owner, you need to first think: are you there for the fanfare, or you are there to make money? Because if you're here to grow the business, that means you have to make some sacrifice. And if you are there for the fanfare, of course, you can do probably go into NGO. Even NGO, you still need to be careful, because people have to clap for you, like, oh yes, you're doing something. But you need to be truthful to yourself. Are you making enough to sustain what you're doing right now? So you need to talk about everything that has to do with probably you forget yourself with the whole Twitter applause, the social media applause, everybody calling you a CEO. You want to be the CEO of this, you want to be the CEO of that. You're attending a lot of events, but you need to face the business itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tunji. Still on you, I mean, concerning what Victor said about sacrifices business owners have to make. So, speaking about startups, so when it comes to businesses, like Victor said, there are sacrifices business owners need to make. But don't you think some go beyond, some go overboard when it comes to finance? So even without them getting paid in order to boost businesses, I think some get the wrong idea about starting up businesses. So in order to make the business thrive, in order to push further, they settle for startup loans to push businesses. What do you think about that? What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on startup loans?
of course, because I'm in Lendha, so I have to say that whole loan is good, but I'm not going to say that today. So I'm going to say
Okay.
that don't take a loan if you do not need the loan. It has to pay you. You have to pay your business. If it doesn't pay your business, don't even take it. If your business need, we've seen a lot of people. Your business is doing a 500,000. Um, your entire business is 500,000, and you're applying for a loan of 2 million. If we approve that loan to you, we are killing the business, because that means we are killing the business. Not only will you not be able to pay the loan, you definitely going to have dead stock. And this is not something we are looking into. For every startup, we always say that okay, loans are lender. If you're taking a loan facility, don't take a loan to start a business. Get some things in place like registration. You can start your business and do your registration, and that is where the side wave come in. Then if you need orientation on how to scale from 0 to 1, you can also work with Victor on this, because you don't just go from 0 to 200 at once. Startup loan, you have to be wary before you apply for a loan. No matter, even if it's 10,000 naira, even if you're taking a loan from your family, you're taking fund from your friends and family, you still do not need the loan to start with. Ask yourself first, like 10 times before you even apply for a loan. Do I really need this loan? Check, can your business pay this loan back every month? Are you generating enough profits to be able to pay back this loan monthly or weekly, or where how the installment is splitted out? So my own take is about startup loan. I'll first tell you, you don't need to take a loan.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'll totally agree with what Tunji has said, to be honest,
Okay.
right? Because businesses fail all the time, right? I know like a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs are probably enthusiastic about their business, about their plans, about their ideas. Oh my God, if I get 100,000 there, oh my God, if I get $1,000 here, I'll do this and this and this, I'll be able to do this and that. um and you never know, things might go wrong. There might be a different policy, government policy. Things might just not go as you've expected. Anything can literally happen, right? And when you take a loan to start or fund that kind of business, right, whether or not your business kicks off, whether or not you make a profit, whether or not you even generate a couple in revenue, right, the company that's giving you a loan will come back for their money, if you get what I mean. So I would say, like Tunji has said, right, start from somewhere, start with what you have, right, build some traction, build some revenue, see if what you're going into is viable enough for you to then get funding from a loan company, and not just set out to build a business and decide to incur debts as a first push. That's typically it from me.
Thank you, Eunice. Thank you for that. Yes, you need to see how possible it is for your business to grow. And so instead of settling for loans, you need to make better plans and put your plans in place for you to thrive in this business. So moving on, Eunice spoke about understanding how the market works for you to actually thrive. So my question is, do you think when it comes to cash management, do you think it's possible for businesses to do like a proper forecast of cash So how do they set the plan? So for Victor, who said he doesn't get paid, but pays employees, you know, how do you how did you do a proper cash forecast for your business in the long run? Because that's one thing that actually sustains a business, when you can make strategic plans, and also do a long run of possibilities, peeping through a needle's eye of cash forecast on how to set the pace for your business. So that, because some businesses, into it, they have the location is there, the product is there, they're booming, but in six months into the business, they run out of cash. Why do you think that happens? So how possible is a cash forecast when you have like a long-term goal with businesses,
Oh yeah,
just so you don't fall um, out of place?
I don't think I'm probably the best person to answer this question. I'll probably push it to Tunji. But what I would say is that I mean, like you've rightly said, I think a financial projection is really important. And when business are setting out, they should really have a document of some sort in terms of working on. It doesn't have to be all 100%, right? There's room for errors, there's room for things like that can happen, if you get what I mean. But some sort of financial projection, estimation on what you're looking to get in a few months, right? Some documents you can work by to assist you in ensuring whether or not you're keeping on track with your finances would ideally be great. And like me, for instance, I'm not very much a finance person, right? What I studied in school was law, but then on my team, right, one of my co-founders has an accounting background. And when it comes to all of those financial projection, when it comes to all of those runway, when it comes to all of those financial targets, I mean, he's the one who keeps track of those. But I would say that having basic knowledge of how this thing works is fine. But then if you're not able to comfortably handle all of these things, right, it might be best or great to have some sort of business partner, some sort of person on your team who is probably more equipped to be able to handle such projections like this. But like I said previously, it's entirely necessary as an entrepreneur or business owner to have these sort of projections.
All right, thank you, Eunice. And any words from you, Victor? I would like to hear your thoughts on that when it comes to cash forecasts, in order to sustain your business in the long term.
Okay, I'm just also gonna sort of like play the devil's advocate here. Okay, I don't even know if that's what it's called, but I'm just gonna throw towards Eunice and just passing the mic to the boss, to someone who's in that field. The finance is not my field. We're just trying to be financially intelligent here. But the truth is, of course, I mean, Tunji might bring in a bit more,
Yeah.
logical and rational perspective to the conversation. But again, it's just me going with the principle of how, building a business. I mean, when I talked earlier around personal economics, again, I know that Talemia, couldn't fund my lifestyle at this very, very early stage, and I'm not ready to give up some part of that lifestyle because it's super important that I keep it. So what I had to do was to, I mean, do a whole lot of other things that pays me, right? So that, Talemia can pay people that work for Talemia outside of me, for now, right? So again, it's me just knowing that in the next XYZ number of months or years runway, I'm not going to be able to get paid this certain amount, right? And being able to also store away cash, right, to be able to, keep going and keep grinding
you were able to get to that point. And just to add something a little bit before I give my microphone to Tunji, who sort of like do better justice here. This is also what pushes people oftentimes, not most times, right? Oftentimes to just think about, about funding or about going to go get a loan is also this ideology of not being able to do like a proper, financial planning and saying, okay, how long am I going to run some like my runway calculation till the business begins to first of all generate revenue, right? And then secondly, generate revenue enough to pay maybe the first key team or people on the team, right? And then thirdly, how long is it able to generate revenue to now not just pay salaries, right, but also be profitable enough. Because again, you aren't building a solution just to retain salaries. You want to be profitable, you want to scale, you want to expand into other markets. Again, this is also what just pushes people. Just an unpopular opinion why people just go to quickly raise money or go take loan is this not understanding how to be a bit more disciplined and not being able to do proper forecasting for their financial gain. They just run off with passion and zeal and they soon run out of money and they start looking for the next VC that's going to fund them or the next but of course that's like a very reserved opinion. It's not generic. So but I'm just going to yield to Tunji to share a bit more logical light to the question.
Okay, see the setup. So, um, my own view on cash flow on this management is, of course, you don't have to learn everything all at once. You definitely make a lot of mistakes, but there is a master key to it. It is just record keeping. When you keep your record, you can do this. Go through your bank statement. A lot of us use business and the business and the personal statement together. You use the same account. Go to your bank statement. You don't have to print it, but go through it probably in the middle of the night and just write it down. What you do month on month, what you are doing day by day in the month, and write it down. Then from there you can pick up things that comes on every month, like some things that you have to pay for that you keep paying for, and you do that to make your budget for that same month and for subsequent month also, and that way you can actually keep growing. That way you can know when to reduce your cost. You can know when to bargain price. And if you see that you do buy some things um out of impulse or something, instead of you buying at that point, wait till the following day before you pay for it. I think some of my colleague wants to when someone comes to me in the office, like, "Oh, today we need to pay for something. You need to pay for something." I'll just hold on. No matter how interesting it is, I'll just hold on first. Then then we'll make a decision whether we need it or we don't. So for that, I think when it comes to management itself, is the key is writing it down and knowing what you've done previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Tunji, for that. Thank you, Victor and Eunice. Yeah, so understanding the finance, you need to check your bank statements, like Tunji said, and also do a proper calculations and make wise money decisions just um, to keep yourself in business. I also want to think. So if you do a proper calculation um, of your business and how and you've like set the pace and you've gotten everything ready. But I think at some point, every business gets to a stage where growth is desired. You've built capacity, and you think, oh, it's now is the time for me to take loans and also move to the next level. What do you think about them accessing loan? Do you think it's a good step, when they've gotten to a certain stage and said, oh, okay, it's time for me to access loans? what are the things, what things should they check when the business is, so they don't go beyond what the business can weigh when it comes to assessing loans. Tunji, please.
Okay. The way it is for us at Lendha, we try to have a partnership with the um, clients and try to understand the business itself and know what they need the money for. So, for right now, a lot of people are taking are having to assess loan because there's inflation, and that means we've done we know everything is expensive right now, so your purchasing power has probably reduced, and that is what one thing I will advise people to take a loan for, because you need to increase your purchasing power. And that means it's not about you're increasing your stock by 200%. You're increasing your stock bit by bit. That way you can actually increase, you can take the loan facility on that. And another thing I will say is, don't take a short loan for a long term investment. Even if you are a startup and you're looking to raise money, it's still a loan. No matter what we call it, it's still a loan. Whether equity or something, or debt financing, it's still a loan itself. And sorry. So, for things to look out for, do you have yourself checked? Have you blocked all the loopholes where you cannot be selling biscuits whereby you're getting 5 naira per carton, and you have someone in your store that keeps eating 2 biscuits every day? You need to block all the loophole whereby you're wasting money from. If you block that, yes, you are good to go. With if you're not just increasing more than you can actually work with, this is not a I will do it. I shall do it. No, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tunji. So apart from loans being an external financial support, investment is something else. Is something people also seek when it comes to growing a business. So they also look for seed funding for businesses. So it's not just about them going to get loans from, from loan companies, and also trying to grow their businesses. So, I'm moving the question to Victor now. When do you think businesses should seek investing? So, when is the right time? So, apart from getting loans, because investing is another way to inject finance into the business. So when do you say, okay, I have built enough capacity to handle investment from external factors and just to grow my business? Is there a right time? Do you think it's okay to start from to push a business, or you need to get to a certain stage to seek investment?
Thank you for that question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. I like to think about that in a very, very reserved way, not necessarily because I'm a bootstrapped startup, right? And of course, I've got about four to five startups in our portfolio. I mean, we've got four to five who have raised, and also, about just closing, their first round of raise. So I'm not averse to raising, right? When when do I believe that a solution or a startup or a founder that is building an interesting product is ready to raise money? I think it happens when the founder understands the the growth economics, the customer, the growth economics, the market, the customer, and of course the products. There's a lot of frenzy, there's a lot of fuss about raising money. It's almost like, somebody was talking to me at idea stage, and I recall that conversation. It was just so funny. this dude hasn't even validated the idea, no proper user testing, and he just says, I'm ready to race. I'm like, do you just think it works like that? Is somebody just gonna come give you money because you have the next big idea that's going to chase Mark, or Elon away from Twitter, things like that, So I personally think that you're ready to raise when you understand first the growth economics, the products. You've got like an end-to-end understanding. I mean, I talk to founders a lot, and I realize that most founders do not really understand their products. So you can prove to me that, and of course, if you think about it, right? If you are, I like to use traditional business here. Let's say you know, um, you're selling, let's say, a pair of shoes, and your production, cost of goods is about 5,000 naira, right? And when you produce, you sell for 7,000 naira. And what you do as net is 2,000 naira. And you've done the economics and you've looked at the market, you've seen there's a huge demand, you've seen that you can actually scale what you're doing, and you've looked at your revenue, what you have in terms of your runway can only do 10 shoes, and that's about 5,000 naira. And you're making 2,000 naira. That's like your net profit. So that means you need to sell five shoes to be able to produce one shoe. So that's understanding the market, the growth economics. So I need to sell five shoes to be able to produce. I mean, this is even given there are no inflation, the market is steady, like a ceteris paribus, where everything being equal. And of course, we know that that's not even going to happen. Like, even if I mean, it becomes more worse if you're living in Nigeria. So you need to do five shoes to produce um, sorry, you need to do if you're doing 5,000 for one shoe, you need to do about three shoes, right, to produce one shoe. So that means how many shoes do you need to do, or how many shoes do you need to sell to produce 100 shoes, to produce 1,000 shoes, to produce 10,000 shoes? And you've looked at your finance and the runway. If you're going to be doing that, it's going to take you maybe about 5 years to sell 1,000 pieces of shoes. And then that's where you look at it and say, you know what, if you give me 1 million, I'm going to put it back into this economics, and I'm going to produce 1,000 piece. And based on this mathematics, I'm going to give you back this 1 million with maybe a 2% markup in terms of interest. So, but many founders don't understand the economics. They just say, you know what, I'm building the next big SaaS product, I'm set to raise. Everybody's raising. So raising now has become like, I mean, when founders meet up to chat, oh, when are you raising? I'm like, that's what they talk about. When are you raising? So when are you raising? You don't even understand what you're building, the product, the growth economics, the user, the market and things like that. So in summing up everything, when do I know that a founder is ready to raise? You understand the growth economics, you understand the user, which is like the market, and then you understand the product end to end. Because if you don't understand these things, what will happen is you will get money, and then the next thing you're going to spend that money would not be an investment. It's going to be an expense, and it's going to be an expense that is not going to tie back into growth. And just to sum it up here, I mean, everybody on the team at Talemia, I mean, we had like a mantra: every activity ties back into growth. Everybody. I mean, even if what you do is just to post on social media, or to schedule meetings for meetings, and partnership meetings, onboarding sessions, all of that you have to find the growth connectivity to your activity. So once you can find that, then you're useless to the team. You're a cost center, and you're not a growth center. So I personally think that founders don't do a lot of this research, sit down to really really understand what they're building. And when they raise money, they go get a fancy office and probably just put everybody on a very high pay, and go and print t-shirts and look all nice, and then they get ready for the next race. And when you look into what they're building, nothing really Nothing really.
Thank you, Victor. That was quite insightful. Okay, so yes, they need to pay attention more to the growth strategies they've put in place, and be able to weigh their capacity and see if they can actually get the loans that I mean, the investments that they desire. Because, like Victor said, some just pick up on businesses that they do not understand, and when the money comes in, they find it difficult to scale because they've actually started on the wrong foot. But then I believe there's a difference between success and struggle, when it comes to businesses. What sets apart or what distinguishes a high performing business from a struggling one? you know so some businesses now decide to. So I would like us to drift a bit, not just focus solely on finance. So what other things do you think businesses are putting in place? Because I believe just as some businesses are thriving, are succeeding, a few others are also struggling, which is not only based on wrong financial decisions, but also on other varied for other varied reasons. So, what do you think sets some apart for success, or what distinguishes some businesses from that are like high performing? Would you like to answer that, Eunice?
Yeah, sure. And apart from finance, I would say the people or the talents you have in a company is also very essential. I mean, your company is only as good as its people. I feel like making the right hirings are essential to a business growth, and it's not typically all about money, 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 and finances, right? Yeah, money calls the shots, right? And obviously, no business can do without revenue, without profit. But I think hiring right, having good people in your company, um, or your startup is actually also very essential, right? People who have who are business minded, who have what it takes to take your business to the next level, is also very essential. So apart from loans, apart from finances, I would say people are also very important in the matrix when you're talking about things that um, makes a company grow, really.
The thing is, I also find that very important when it comes to business sustainability, because I think pushing a business forward, you need manpower, and to do that, you need to get the right people on your side, to push the vision forward. Any words, Tunji, on business sustainability when it comes to people perspective now? How do you manage employees? We're drifting a bit from the financial view into HR management now. How do you think people can sustain business? Because I also think it's beyond finance, like we said earlier. So even maybe the major reason may be finance, but other factors are also there, which is also people management. So I think for business to thrive and for us to maintain sustainability, we need people. So how do you think businesses these days and startups can manage their employees in order to grow and also sustain the growth?
Okay. So for people's management, it's in two ways: the employees and the customers, the client itself. Because without the client, um, my mentor once say that treat your employees right so they can treat your they can treat your customers right. And if you treat your employees right, they will treat the customer right. If employees are king, the customers are definitely king also. So if you can't say customers are king when the employees are not king. So one ways to treat employees like it's, of course, pay people salary before. If you're earning people salary before, it's something they've earned. You just need to pay the salary.
Yeah.
So if you are running a business, before you even take money out for yourself, try to pay your employee. pay your employee. If you want them to, you don't want, yeah, someone that you've not paid for a month, and your customer comes in and you want the person to say good morning. The person will first say like, "What's good about the morning?" There's nothing good about the money. Like it's the money I want, no more good morning. So if you want them to, they can treat employees right, and try to, of course, like for the first time, is try to treat everyone as family. And for example, what we do at Lenda, it might not work everywhere. We try to, of course, we are family and we fight as a family also. We try to do a there is no it's a straight a flat line, yeah, and so you don't have your age and everything drops at the gate, and you come in as just yourself as human. And treating employee right is the main key. And when you have other things for growth, as much as we have targets here and Lenda, we also have growth targets. That means you need to learn more. You need to know more things aside what you're currently doing. So treat your employee right so they can treat your customer right. That's one of those things.
Um,
Please, can
thank
I
you.
quickly ask something? Sorry, Mary.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, just quickly trying to ask something. When you said we're drifting away from finance, I don't even think we are, because every mistake is a money mistake. Every mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But we oftentimes we're not intelligent or emotionally intelligent enough to find the connecting dots back to finance. You know, I mean, if I hire wrongly, like Eunice has said, it's going to tell on my bottom line. If I get a process wrong, if I don't get I'm coming from the angle of process, so the process has to be super good. Oftentimes we hire people to rubbish. We just hire people to disorganization. And then we say we're running an organization. But what we're actually running is a disorganization. Right? So we just hire people into a chaotic place. There is no process, there is no operational process flow. How do you do stuff? How do you serve? Because when you think about it, everything that we do for one person who is like the boss, the customer, is to serve the customer. And what are we looking for in exchange? Money. So if anything goes wrong in maybe the engineering, maybe shipping the codes, maybe hiring, maybe in terms of management, anything really, because everything that we're doing is for the customer. And if we get it right for the customer, then the customer will give us money as a reward for giving them what they're looking for. So all the all the value chain, all the interaction that happens to in that experience that delivers the money is actually a financial mistake. So once we don't get the people right, the process right, the product right, even the performance right, then the long run is going to affect the customer. And guess what? They're going to take the money elsewhere. So every mistake really is a money mistake.
Thank you, Victor. Very true. Every mistake is a money mistake when it comes to people as well. So when you make like Victor said, when you hire people into this organization, so it's more like you just get people and they're not doing what you want, and so so when the mistake comes, it affects the business financially. Some push ideas, some pay employees, even some fail to pay themselves, like Eunice said. And this also, everything links back to the finance. So I'm going to ask now, what financial advice would you have for businesses that have made these mistakes? So when it comes to finance, when it comes to people management, and they found themselves at the bottom, like, particularly at the verge of bankruptcy, what advice would you give them? Because many businesses now think, oh, okay, this is where I am. Things are not working fine because I have made mistakes in the past. I've made wrong decisions, and the thing they look forward to is getting a loan, to kick back, to come out of the hole that they find themselves. Would you say getting a loan at the verge of bankruptcy is the right thing to do? What exact strategy do they need to put in place? Because some think, oh, okay, since everything links back to finance, they want to get money also to come out of the old money took them into. So, what advice would you give to businesses like this who are almost at the verge of bankruptcy and want to push out and strive to come out of where they are at the moment after making, money mistakes, people mistakes, failing to pay themselves, and they find themselves in that hole? What advice would you give them? Tunji, I'd like you to go.
More will never solve the problem. So the first thing I would say they need to do is they need to double back a bit and write down what they are. If it's financial debt and all, they need to first discuss with their financial. They need to discuss with people and they see try to find a way to do restructuring. Um, owing is not the end of life, and it's not a bad thing. Everybody owe one thing or the other, and what we usually do at Lenda is we talked about restructuring and we try to have a proper discussion with the person and have this restructuring process. And of course, default is normal. We have a For businesses, it's normal for businesses to go through time, and for anyone going through other time, just double back a bit, write things down, and that way you get to know where you've made a mistake, and you need to block all those holes. But taking other additional loan, it's never going to solve the problem. It's going to add more to it because you cannot use a short term solution to solve a long term problem.
And well said, Tunji. I mean, you cannot use a loan to solve a financial problem. You don't keep dabbling into one loan to the other just to get out of a financial crisis. But some may say, since you are the verge of bankruptcy, it's better to just quit. I actually like what Tunji said. Step back a bit, re-strategize, come back with a better plan that would take you out of, even if it means starting small again, practically from the scratch. I think that's the best thing to do. Also, I also think every business can improve. Every business can improve no matter where you find yourself, as long as you have the right things to do, the right models in place. Businesses can change, businesses can improve, some may change. So can help us align some of these sustainable models every business owner needs to consider for growth. you know some of them don't know this. When they find themselves struggling, what are the things that they can, what are the sustainable models they need to come up with, just to sustain them in the business, and for them, even if they find themselves in some setbacks, it won't be that drastic, um, that they think of pulling out. So what things, what highlights can they put in place, to sustain them in business? What business models can they do they need to consider for growth? Victor, please.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't hear you for the last 1 minute. Can you
Oh, okay,
just
okay,
quickly
I
recap
will.
that?
Okay, I will. So Tugi was talking about businesses who
Yeah.
that need, when they, instead of seeking loans to come out of financial crisis, they need to step back and re-strategize. I also believe, even if something, why start over? Why continue? Why not just like go into full-time employment? So I think everyone can grow, every business can grow, every business can improve. Some just need a slight change. So I'm thinking, what sustainable models can these business owners put in place, that they need to put in place to grow, to sustain themselves?
Okay. Thank you, Max, for that question. Again, I don't always like to get into that place where I have to give like a blanket response, because the truth is, having to work with thousands of entrepreneurs, I just know that people, different models works for different people. So
True.
you really can't just say this is what you need to do, to grow. But I could just say like a few, like some key principles that works. Of course, one of the one of the key things when you're trying to pick yourself up again and you're just trying to, move up the ladder, it's really to look at, um, your business behavior in terms of, what actually brought you to where you are currently, and of course, to even go even literally just go listen to your market. I personally think that, um, from chatting with a lot of founders, they don't spend time listening to the market. They're just so emotional with what they want to build. They're just so passionate about this is the I'm just going to launch it. I'm just going to do it. I mean, I just shared a very funny tweet that I just saw on our community page, and I mean, the person had said me trying to sense the needs of my users, more like using like Professor X, in X-Men. You can't sense the need of users. You've got to go do a proper user research. So oftentimes when you're down below, you might even need to rethink your entire strategy, and that begins from the customer. That begins from the customer, then you walk back into the products, because of course, what people are looking for determines what you build, how you build, and how you sell it to them. So everything really just ties around the most important person in the business, the customer,
The
right? So
customers.
you want to look at the customer. What is the biggest problem in terms of what you're trying to solve? And again, oftentimes I also see that businesses cannot be sustained. Again, you can launch something and then it's going to grow, but it will not pass the test of sustainability if you don't pass the test of how large the market is. Of course, that's what every VC is going to ask you. That's probably you're trying to solve, how large is the market, and it's super important. If you don't know how large the market is, or if you can figure that out. I mean, if you're, say for instance, your sum, which is like your serviceable obtainable market, it's about maybe 500,000, to 1 million, then how much, how are you going to really run, and when you cover that, what happens next? What are you going to do next? So you want to have, you want to look at the markets, how big is the problem you're trying to solve, and because that's what drives sustainability. The more you're having repeat customers, people coming back, you're expanding and all of that, then revenue expands with how much repeat purchases you're able to make. So of course, oftentimes when you hit the rock bottom, it might not necessarily be like Tunji said, going to take a loan. It might also be that maybe I need to rethink my product. Maybe I need to rethink the problem I'm trying to solve. Is it really a problem? Or is it something that I was just passionate about solving and I just felt everybody needs this particular thing right now? So you might need to just rethink your entire strategy, rethink everything, and then build for the customer. Build for the customer. I think in the end, it just ties back to how much problems you're able to solve for the customer and how big that problem is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Victor. Very true. We need to rethink the entire strategy and also pay close attention to customers. How large is the market? Do we, as our ideas actually realistic? We need to listen to the market needs. So in few minutes, I'll be taking questions from our listeners. So please, if you have any question, I would like you to just signify so I can give you the mic so you can direct your questions to any of our speakers here. And it's been an interesting conversation tonight. Thank you, Victor, Eunice, and Tunji for these insights you've given us tonight. So if you
Definitely.
have any question, please, you can just signify. If anyone here is a question, please signify so I can give you the mic. So for now, I would like to ask Eunice one more question. When it comes to launching in a foreign market, you know, what are the steps needed
Oh
How do you enter
yes.
into the foreign market, when it comes to launching?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I can say a few words on that. I would say before an organization or a startup decides to leave the boundaries of their country or local markets and decide to expand across their borders, I think one of the first few things you have to do is one, do research, research, and research, to be honest. The market you're going to, is it a viable place? Is it someplace that is the market ripe enough for my products? Is this a market that I would make revenue, make profits in? Right? What does the competition or competitive landscape in this country currently look like? Right? What are the legal and regulatory requirements in this country? Is this country open to foreign investments? What are the intricacies involved? How am I able to repatriate my capital? So when I invest in this company, I hope my business is not going to be nationalized, right? What are the policies in my area or in my industry? In my industry, for instance, if you get what I mean. So I would say a bit of research has to go into it, right? It's not a decision that businesses or startups should quickly jump at or make, right? If you still have an available market in your country that you haven't explored, right? Or in your local market, why not engage that first? If you get what I mean. I mean, a lot of startups in Nigeria are pretty concentrated on the Lagos market, right? Is it that there is no market or there are not people who need my products or services in the other 35 states in Nigeria? Have we explored Abuja? Have we explored Port Harcourt? I mean, Ogun State is one of the other states that adds revenue in terms of IGR in Nigeria, right? So, what am I doing in other states locally, right? Is it the right time for me to scale beyond my borders? So these are all the things that I would say entrepreneurs or startup founders need to consider, right? So because this startup is moving into this economy or this market doesn't mean it's the right time for me to move into that market, right? If you're offering digital lending, for instance, right, and you're moving to a market that maybe religious wise or any other in terms of like personal or individual affiliation in that country, right? They're very averse to loans, if you get what I mean. Or maybe I'm a betting company, for instance, and I'm trying to move into Egypt, for instance. The laws and regulatory environment there are not very suitable in that country, for instance. So these are a few of the things that has to go in before this decision to jump across border is really made, to be honest.
Okay, thank you, Eunice. For those who don't know, Eunice helps small businesses launch in across Nigeria and also in the foreign market. So if you have any business idea you would like to launch, Eunice is the person to go to. So I'm going to be giving the mic to Zani. Zani, you wanted to talk, so you have the mic, please.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Please,
Good evening.
I actually want to ask because I didn't start with the lecture from the beginning. Please,
Okay.
how can you actually nurture your customers like on for an online business? Like how can you actually convince your customer to actually trust you with their money, that they should pay before they get their product because of this scam of a thing up and down everywhere across the country?
Okay, thank you for your question, Zani. Who would like to go for that?
Okay, let me just go. Let me mention this. before Victor goes on. Okay, for businesses, you're selling things online. At least one of the things that comes as red flag for me is when I see no refund policy, no refund. So I'm buying something I don't even know, and I'm not going to. There's not going to be any refund. How about you partner with a delivery agent, delivery outlet? There are some like Messenger, and when you partner with them, you can actually they can collect the money for you when they go out to deliver these things. Firstly, a lot of people have been scammed online, whereby you pay into their account, and the next thing they block you. So it's and I know on the seller part, buy now pay on delivery, it's a wrong idea. But you can actually partner with a logistic outlet who can actually act like escrow, whereby they owe the item, and they when they deliver, they will get the money. But you need to be sure who you are delivering to also.
Okay, thank you. But
And thank you
so
for that.
is there any logistic company that actually have their branches all over, like across the country? Because I don't really understand. I have some, but they will just be like, okay, I only have branch in Abuja and Lagos alone.
Okay, you can send me a message. I can link you up with Messenger. I think GIG Logistic also have across, and there is also around 360 or so. They also do some delivery outlets across and all. So you could, I know Messenger has, they even have warehouse whereby you can put your stock in and they will pick it up and deliver for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tunji, for answering the question. Is there any other question? Any other person, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to Zani's question
Okay.
briefly, and this is because yeah, that's a popular challenge across our industry, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
Nigeria is an emerging market, and having to trust people, right? It can be a bit difficult. I would say that if you're selling on social media or selling via internet and you have like a physical address, right? At least if I'm purchasing from Zani, for instance, I see that, oh my God, Zani has an address listed on our website or has an address listed on our page, that if anything goes wrong, I'm able to physically go there to make complaints, if you get what I mean. Um, if you're able to do that, I guess that works fine. And I mean, like over time, if people order from you and they see that, oh my God, Zani's products are great, what I ordered from her came out good, the word spreads around, if you get what I mean. Like people would make referrals, right? But maybe
Yes.
at the beginning
Sure.
it might be a bit difficult, right? But these are some of the challenges that you'd face when starting a business. And I would give side brief as an example. So when we started out, we had a physical office. So and that was because it's the same thing, right? Users and Nigerians in general are not very trustworthy, and to be honest, a lot of people have valid reasons and valid experiences that have shaped their perspectives, right? So it's not just born out of nothing, but it's just something that we would have to typically work around. So for about a year, we did have a physical working office, right? We did meet people. People walked into our office and they could have meetings with us and everything. But later on, we decided to move online. But at that point that we decided to work remotely, we had already built a presence, right, and some sort of trust, right, with people that have used us, right, previously, right. So now, even when we just recently moved online, people would ask, oh, can I come to your office? Can I do this? Can I do that? And yes, we did maintain our office for a bit, right? And just to, in case people would come in or want to have meetings. But as time goes on, we realize that nobody was asking us for meetings. The world is going digital and everybody's pretty much scheduling stuff online. And people are even able to use our platform without even knowing people behind. Just random people just come up and sign up and register their businesses, if you get what I mean. So it's one of the challenges, right? There's no hard and fast rule, if that is something I'll put in there. But I would say that having your address publicly listed, right? Giving customers or users the option to return, right? I mean, it's not easy, right? But as time goes on, people would learn to trust you. People would get referrals, and if there's something you can do to make people who you've delivered to maybe write a review about you, tweet about you, or say something about your product, right? If you're able to offer them discounts for saying that, right, that would typically work and typically instill confidence in someone else who's trying to order from you. I mean, if I'm trying to order from you and I just do a research online and I see that, oh yeah, other people have been buying from you and they have good things to say about your product, then it instills some sort of confidence, if you get what I mean, going forward. So that's all I have, Zani.
Thank you very much.
And Zani, just to tie it up, never ever say or never ever ask anybody. I'm presuming that you're pretty much in early stage. Never ever ask anybody to pay before delivery. If you're talking to Nigerian market, you're wasting your time because you've not built that KOT factor, which is the know, like, and trust, like Eunice talked about. Don't do that. Just break your back a little bit. It's not comfortable, it's not convenient, but it is what it is, really. Emotional intelligence just teaches you to understand the kind of market you're playing in and how volatile the market is, and then just do that. So when you build that, that know, like, and trust factor, then you can just sit in the corner of your whatever and just say, guys, you've become so big, and that's it. So, but right now, do not ask anybody to pay you before delivery because they would likely may not be able to do that till they trust you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eunice and Victor, for answering that question. I'm so sorry, I can only take two more questions for tonight conversation. So I'll be going to Ademola. So Ademola, please, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yeah, hi there. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ademola.
Good evening to you guys. This time is really fascinating. Yeah, my question goes like this. I want to ask what I need to do, and kind of research I need to make before investing my money in the company. I'm a type full of investing savings a lot. I remember the kind of company I put my money on and investment. And this company I've been for like 5 years. So after this going on like this, almost all the people couldn't even communicate with me at all. And my money just go like that. And before investing my money, this company are not a Ponzi scheme at all. They are working very, very, very effectively. All of a sudden, after these 5 years, they could not even come just to that or send a message to anybody. And our money just go like that. So I just want to know what are what research someone needs to do before putting your money, investing your money, or partner choose to invest your money. Can you hear me correctly?
Yes, thank you, Ademola. So I don't know if you got the question, Eunice and Victor. Ademola was asking, what does he need to check? I mean, before making an investment decision, because he's made his own financial mistake in the past by investing in the business that he didn't do a background check on. So now he's asking what does he need to do before making another financial decision when it comes to investing in a business.
I would say like preliminarily, if you want to invest or you're looking to invest in a company or a business, I think one of the due diligence things or preliminary things you need to do is probably one, find out are they registered, right? Any business that wants your money or that wants investors to invest in their company would typically have to be registered, right? If it's in Nigeria, are they registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission? After that, then you go further. If they're a fintech company, if they're a health tech company, for instance, do they have the appropriate licenses to operate? If you get what I mean. So, if you're putting your money in a company that doesn't have the requisite license to operate, then your money can be as good as gone. If you get what I mean. Um, because they can be shut down by a regulatory authority in the country for not having the requisite permit to run their business. Their accounts can be frozen, and obviously your money goes with that, if you get what I mean. But I would say these are just basic things you need to look in a company. Then in terms of like making an investment decision, I mean that would typically depend on you, and maybe you would have like certain standards or certain things that you would actually have outlined, right? And for me personally, before I invest in a company, I would typically look and say, oh, is this a company that I would actually would actually use? Like, do they offer products or services or things that me personally myself, right, would use? um the values of the company, do they align with my values, right? In terms of ethics, I would look into the founders. Do they have some major corruption or ethical issues have happened previously, right? In terms of researching their background, just to ensure that, oh, these are people who are trustworthy, probably who have built businesses previously, or people who just pretty much have a track record and really know what they are doing, if you get what I mean. So I would say these are like preliminary things that I would typically do on my own and by myself. But I guess people would just have it and pretty much have different standards of things that they will look into. But I would say that do not just invest or put your money based on intuition, right? A bit of just background check, just due diligence, just asking the founders, just if it's an entrepreneur, even if they're just your friend, right? Just asking them a few questions. I mean, it's your money, it's your call, right? So if someone is saying, oh, how much do you even want to invest, then you know that something is wrong somewhere, right? Yeah, and I would pretty much stop at that and let the other speakers maybe say one or two things.
Yeah, hello, sorry, I tried to cut you off. Yeah, I did. I don't know if anybody knows if I've come alive to the battle. Yeah, but
We didn't
I
get
did.
that, Ademola.
I don't know if I come alive to the battle.
Not sure, not sure.
It's very, very terrible. Everyone in Ibadan also know about crime like all my money is reduced. But they always have their jingle on the radio, on the TV station and everything. Their company is very registered and everything. Like when they told them, they didn't even communicate with anybody up to now. Company that go for like 5 years, their company is registered, they have the registration number, nothing. That's how my money just go. So it's always
Also,
been
like,
when it comes to partner with the company for my money. So I just to invest in the company. I'm always being scared. I don't know. I don't know. Everyone about the come alive, they very, very common concept. Everyone knows it, but everyone knows it.
oh yeah, and I couldn't quite hear you, bro. Like, I mean, like, people make mistakes, honestly. Like,
True,
people,
true.
they're it's not all the investment decisions that you make that would turn out profitably. If you get what I mean, right? There are bad decisions, there are good decisions, there are decisions you'd regret later. It all comes with your terrain, if you ask me, in terms of investment. I mean, a lot of people invest, and a lot of people are still investing in cryptocurrency, even though the market crashes, right? So I would not say there's a hard and fast rule, right? As long as you do your preliminary diligence, right? So obviously, you had one unfortunate circumstances in Ibadan and everything like that, even though they were registered, right? Things like that happen, right? It really typically comes with the terrain, right? But I would say that shouldn't discourage you. There's still like credible founders or credible businesses out there who are looking for funds like yours to be able to scale or run their businesses, really.
Thank you, Eunice, for answering the question. I believe you've done justice to that. And true, not every investment decision go the right way. Sometimes we we make money mistakes like that. So I'll be going to the last person, and that's the last question I'll be taking for tonight. So the intern, please, if you're there, kindly unmute and ask your question.
Hi, yes. I have a question specifically to financing. If
Okay, please go
somebody
ahead.
external were interested in finding, risk assessing, and then systematically investing and creating a financial product to be sold in Europe and the United States, how would one go about contacting local actors and setting something like that up? Because there would need to be some specifics in place, like property rights, guarantees, liens, etc. And what type of laws are in place currently to facilitate the safety of those types of deals?
Okay, thank you for your question. I'm not sure I got the question, but I don't know if, but I think it's also about launching a business in the foreign market, if I'm correct.
I
No, it is say I, as a foreigner, want to come
Okay,
in to your country and I want
yeah.
to offer financing, but I have
okay,
capital but no infrastructure. Uh,
okay,
Essentially, the easiest way to do that would be finding a way to systematize risk in the credit markets and selling that to investors in other countries.
okay, thank you. Victor, would you like to go?
So I mean, it's not. Thank you, the internet philosopher. So I don't think it has to be like an ongoing conversation. So first, do you have this product already built out, in the US, and then you just want to expand, you know, into Africa or something? I'm just trying to understand, where you are currently.
I'm a Norwegian economist, but these products exist, obviously. Uh, Collateralized debt or resold debt is a very common form of bonds, and a lot of business loans are bonds. The problem is in emerging markets, economies, all credit risk would be assumed to be high risk. So it would be a matter of sorting businesses by risk and by sector so that you could create a more thorough picture of the risk profile of each lender and then packaging these lenders up because none of them individually are big enough for any institutional money. But collectively, it could be $1 billion market, which would make them interesting to institutional investors, which then, people on site or in the country could facilitate. So my question is around if there is anything already existing that could make that process easier. Uh,
Oh, okay. So I personally, if Tunji is still on this call, so I was thinking probably you were trying to maybe um decentralize what you're already doing, or you're just trying to probably just scale into other markets. But I think I understand what you're saying, and I think it's pretty much really around, loan financing space, and things like that. I don't know if Tunji is still on this call. He'll probably be the best person to, to take up your question. So Tunji, I'm yielding my mic to
Okay.
you right now. Yeah.
Okay. Concerning financing in new markets like Nigeria itself, I believe it's Eunice would say that you need to understand the environment you're coming in first because you do not just there are a lot of things that has to be in place, government policy and all. And I believe when you're doing for the meantime you're doing like if you want to do investments, you'll probably join some syndicates, some startup syndicates, whereby you can partner with an existing business in house. And when it comes to that finance, because you might say that you understand it from where you're coming from, the same way you are, the country you are in, and when you're going to another country, it's a different thing. And my mentor used to say that Nigerian market is a different market entirely. African market is also a different market entirely from Europe or from the West itself. So I would just advise that you should join the syndicate and and partner with an existing platform itself. And if you want to start afresh, um, Eunice company and Sidebrief can actually assist with the launch from the regular from the start to the finish itself with the that has to do with licensing and also partnering with the right set of people to make it work. Did I answer that?
yeah, sure. I think specifically the way I would want to look at structuring something like this, I've been looking for a way to find and expose myself to African financial risk specifically. And the reason for it is the rest of the global markets are so connected that getting asymmetric returns or risks is very difficult at this point. So Nigeria specifically has a very high inflation rate, meaning that it is very attractive to lend money in naira. Uh, and because anytime you can own Naira against a different currency, or you can own a different currency against Naira, you're going to make money as long as their inflation rate is lower. And
Yeah.
there's ways to structure these deals in such a way that you get paid back in a way that makes sense for the lender in the West, if that makes sense.
Okay, you mean paying back in USD itself, in foreign currency, and I think that one is a longer discussion, and we probably might, if I can, I don't know how to put this second. I us for example right now we don't take when we're trying to open our funds and we're taking a debt financing itself, we do not we can only take the debt finance in naira because that's the only way it gets to pay us. Because right now, sometime last year, I was discussing with someone today. Last year, a dollar to naira was about 485 at the black market last year. Right now, it's about 610. Imagine you, as a business owner, imagine you um, lending at with dollar at that rate, and right now you have to pay back. It's not only you're paying back with the interest, you're working in naira, and you're paying back not just the interest itself, you're also paying back the margin between 485 and 610.
Correct. Yes. And if you're the lender and you lend in Naira, you are lending that the other way, meaning you would have to charge the interest rates that hedges your risk.
Yes, and that would not be favorable to the small businesses itself, the small businesses, because these are the major people. It's of course it's not an NGO, it's not an impact fee, like it is a business transaction. So for the interest rates right now, it is everybody is trying to look for cheaper funds, and so they can also reduce the interest rates. Businesses are making profits, but we need to make profit enough to be able to sustain the business.
Yeah. Yeah, because what I was thinking is if you can get a big enough basket of small businesses, that would mitigate the risk somewhat.
I didn't get that.
So if we have 1 million small businesses all collateralized in one paper, like a tranche, that could mitigate some of that risk, but the inflation risk is still very much there, or the value to the naira risk essentially. And I
Yes,
think that's going to be hard for foreign investors to swallow.
Okay, one of the things we're doing at Lendha is we need to impact about 842,000 small businesses between the next 18 months, and we've started working on that, and that's one of the reasons why we are sensitizing small businesses on the need for funds when they need to use that. And we've started working on how we've increased our go-to-market strategy, and we're doing that by to onboard 842,000 small businesses within the next 2 years. So that should increase our rate and our reach. And it's not just registered businesses. We cater for registered, unregistered, and freelancers. These are people like Zaini earlier, who sells majorly online without physical shops.
Thank you, Tunji, for answering the question. So sorry, that's how much question we can take for tonight. It's been a really insightful session with Victor, Eunice, and Tunji. Super glad to have you here with us and spend almost 2 hours, talking about finance, sustainability, how to mitigate risks, when it comes to growing a business here in Nigeria. I hope we've all learned a lot, and I actually look forward to how we can, integrate these lessons into our own ideas to build a good business structure here in Nigeria, so we can stay in business and not, phase out, like we said, in the first 3 years into the business. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. So if you have any other question, you can always ask. We have Eunice here, we have Victor here. Victor hosts a Friday session. So if you have any question, you can always reach out to him, ask questions. We have Eunice here too. You can tweet at her and ask her questions. I believe Tunji is always available to answer questions you have. So feel free to reach out to either of them if you have questions pertaining to business, finance, growth, startup, sustainability, and any other question you have in mind. I really appreciate the time you've given into this conversation. Eunice, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I don't know
thank
if you have
you.
any last words to say.
Oh no, just wanted to thank the Lendha team, Tunji and team, for having us on the call today. Really appreciate the platform, and we look forward to working together with Lendha.
We look forward to that too as well. Victor,
Yeah, thank you, Lendha, for having us. Thank you, Eunice. It was some thoughtful things you've said, and Tunji as well. Of course, my final words to everyone who is listening right now, and those that probably jump on this later is, I mean, just go do it now. Don't just stop. Don't think about it. Don't just, fantasize. Just do something. Execute. Execution is the game. Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. So you can always use this insights that you've gained from today's session to start up your business, grow, when it comes to finance and the likes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this space today. Hopefully we get to do another one next month. And I look forward to having everyone here join the conversation again. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.